Welcome to Living in Kenosha. So on this channel, we tell you that we're going to help you live, work, and play. Well, let's talk about a little bit of the work. We're going to start out with our inaugural video as real estate market facts. So some of the other videos that we're going to make are not going to be about real estate at all. They're just going to be about really cool things about the area. But once a month, we are going to bring you market updates. So basically letting you know what's happening in the real estate market if you're considering buying or selling. Obviously, if you're not interested in keeping up with those stats, you're not a geek like me, that's okay. We understand it. But today we're going to talk about a 2023 year in review and just talk about how that impacts you, how that impacts the local economy, and what that does for you. So stick around and we will be right back right after this.
Yeah. Here we go.
And welcome back again. So we're going to talk today about what happened in 2023, and we're going to talk about 5 basic stats. 5 stats that we think are really, really important for you. So there's 5 stats that we're going to go over. So the first one is I'm going to actually look at the average list price to sale price. We're also going to look at how many sold or new listings came on the market and what that means and how it impacts you when you're looking to buy in 2024. We're going to talk about the sale to list percentage. We're going to talk about what's called the absorption rate. If you've never heard of absorption rate, it's actually a really important fact and a really important stat that for some reason agents don't talk about and don't educate people on. It's one of my favorites. That'll actually be the last one we do. So the fifth thing, is we're also going to talk about days on market. And again, how that impacts your buying and selling in the future. So let's start off, first of all, with the stat for the sale to list prices. So if we're looking here, our sale to list price average in Kenosha. So our average list price was actually $319,553.83. That's the average. We take every list price, we average it out, and that's what we come to as the listing price. Now, you need to understand that the listing price is really the seller's wish list. It doesn't mean that's what they're going to get. It just means that's what they wish or want for their property. What's significant about Kenosha is that you actually have a very low sale price when it comes to list. So the sale price on average was $263,981.67. So the $263,981.67 is, and now this is based on the average, the list prices where they start. So keep in mind when we talk about sale to list percentages, we're going to talk about a different number, and that's going to be more about their sale prices. Sale to list prices for each year on year. But this is for 2023, your average sale price is only $263,981.67. Now, that's actually pretty low, and really that's showing me a problem. Because when you are over $50,000 off of your list price, it means you're having to come down on your price. It means that, as in general for the Kenosha market, people are listing their homes for higher than they should. And the problem with listing your home for higher than you should is you actually, statistically, this has been proven that you get less. So, okay, this may not make sense, but let's say you should be listing your house. So let's say the average list price should be closer to 270, well, actually probably closer to 300 or maybe 380. And the reason for that is if it was close, not 380, 280. So 300, somewhere between 280 and 300 is really what the average list price should be. What would happen is your sale prices would actually go up. Now, some people don't believe in that. Some people don't like to recognize that stat, but it has been proven over and over and over that when you list your house too high, you actually, because it sits on the market, people start saying, what's wrong with this house? And they actually end up paying less for your house because they see it sit. Now, this is not every house. Of course, there are houses that are on the short side of this that, they listed at $319 and they got $320. And of course, there's going to be some that listed at, at 263 and got only 200. So you've got both extremes on this, but the average list price should not be that big of a gap between the average list price and the average sale price. And that's a little bit of a problem. So really what we need to be looking at for the 2024 market, first of all, we've seen prices go up by about we're expecting them to go up by about 4 to 5% total. All right, so when we're going to list a house this year, if you're an average house in Kenosha, you're not a higher end home or you're not a lower end home, it's an average home, then you should be looking at an average price of somewhere around listing prices around 275. Because here's the other thing that's really interesting. When you list your price slightly beneath, because if we add a 4% to that, that basically takes us up, on 263, that takes us up about 10 grand or so, or 12 grand is actually pretty close to it. And so we list at 275. What's amazing is that you might actually get 280 or 285, because when you list slightly below what your expected sale price, and I mean slightly, not off by a lot, but slightly below, what we find is that the market actually does the opposite. So what happens is if you list too high, you get too little. When you list a little bit low, like slightly, like 2% below where you want to really, where you really think the value is, you list 2% below, you almost always get 5 to 10% above what you're expecting. And of course, the agents who implement this, they're the reason that some people are still listing higher. So this is why list price to sale price should not be this big of a gap. That is actually dangerous. To be over $50,000 off at such a small price point, that's actually not good at all. So if you are considering and you have an average, so let's say you have a 1,200 square foot ranch in Forest Park, that's really right in there. And if you've done some updates in the last 10 years, it's not like 1960s cabinets when it was first built. It's not paneling, old paneling in the basement that's, had water come into it or something like that. But if you have a really nice house with a finished basement in Forest Park, you easily should be listing somewhere around 275 come this spring, because that's where that market is. And of course, we're talking about having a finished basement. We're talking about 3 bedrooms. We're talking about 2 baths. And we're talking about bathrooms, bedrooms, and kitchens. Well, mostly bathrooms and kitchens that have been decently updated. And of course, include all appliances. And I'm not talking about a flip. I'm talking about a really decent upgrade that you've done over the last 10 years. It doesn't have to be immediate. So it's got a good roof. It's got a good furnace. It's got a good water heater. And it's got a moderately modern kitchen. It doesn't have to be granite countertops. It just has to be nice countertops, maybe new, maybe freshened up. It has to be cabinets that are more updated in paint or style. And that's where you want to be. You want to be listing somewhere around the 275. For Forest Park, it depends on the house, of course, but probably around 250 to 275. Last year, I sold a couple over there and they were going for 240 to 250. So this year, I think we're going to see a little bit of a jump, especially in that area. So, give us a call if you want us to list it, because I definitely know that area very well. If you're in other areas, there's a wider range. The nice thing about Forest Park is that the houses there are fairly standard, and I can kind of talk about that because they're very standard. Your house, if it's in a different neighborhood, might be something I've got to see the house specifically and really walk in it to get a feel for it, to really give you a good price so I can match it up against others. But that's just kind of a general rule of thumb. Okay, the next stat that is really, really important is when we talk about how many new listings we have every month versus how many listings sold every month. So we want to make sure that our new listings are more than our sold listings. And some months that didn't happen in Kenosha at all. And that's problematic. But let's take a look at that stat as well. So sold listings versus new listings. Here we go. So our sold listings were 63 on average per month. Okay. So that's not terrible, except let's talk about the other aspect of this. New listings at 73 a month. So the average of new listings every month was 73 and the average sold every month was 63. Okay, that's good because the new listings are outpacing the solds. However, they're not outpacing it by enough. Kenosha traditionally in 2019 and 20 and 21 traditionally has closer to 200, somewhere between 200 and 250 new listings a month is actually a healthier market. At the very least, we need to be doubling that number of new listings to 73, from 73 to like 150. Because if we double that number for next year, what that means is it gives buyers more confidence. So more buyers come out of the woodwork, especially with interest rates dropping a little bit this fall and more this spring. That is an optimal time to get your house listed, because the pricing, we still think the pricing is going to be there because we still don't have even close to enough houses to sell. But we need to have about 150 every month new listings. And then we can sell 120 or 130 of them. The only reason we're not selling more of these is because the 10 that aren't getting sold for every month, they're just really, really trashy houses. The average house, and even some houses that aren't that average, people are settling for them. That's why there is only 10 left after every month. That means after the last year, we only have 120 houses, quote unquote, left over, or some of them just went expired and were taken off the market entirely. But I mean, that's just way too low that's really too tight of a margin. So let's take a look as well at our next graph here. And this is actually going to be the average days on market. And days on market, most people know this one. They are like, yeah, days on market, low, that's good, except it's not entirely good if it's less than, well, really, we want those days on market to be somewhere around 90. I put my chart at the top at 30 because that's more traditional and it's a lot harder to read. If I were to put this at 90, you'd have 2/3 of this chart would not be showing up, would be just white and blank. And that's not good. We really need the days on market as an average to be closer to 90 because, like I said, some houses aren't going to sell at all. They're going to go 150 days, 180 days. They're not going to sell. That's just normal. That's what happens in a market. But maybe because they're a specialized place, maybe because they're really, really distressed, maybe because the seller is unwilling to take less money, maybe the seller is unable to take less money. Those are all factors that go into this. So the days on market, that is what you need to understand about that, is that the days on market is how many days until you get an accepted offer. That's not how many days till it sells. That's how many days of marketing happen prior to getting an accepted offer. Now, for my listings, I haven't had anything go this long, but obviously there are agents who are taking listings that are going much longer. And that's why we get this number as we do. Now, I should point out that these stats are only about single family homes. We don't compare single family to two family. We don't compare two family to multifamily. And we certainly don't compare it to commercial because those are residential and commercial are two completely different beasts for sure. But what we're talking about, these are all single family homes, all of our stats. And we are only getting, there's only 23.54 days on market for 2022. And we only dropped that by a day. And really, we shouldn't be dropping that. We actually should be moving that number up. It would actually be healthier if we saw that double and go up to 60 because that gives buyers more confidence. And when you have more buyer confidence, then you have more buyers flooding into the market, which is more competition, which is the seller you want. You want buyers flooding into the market like they did in 2020, 2021, and half of 2022. We need buyer confidence. And that's how homes sell. So we've got to get more listings out there for buyers so they don't get discouraged. And we have to bring up some buyer confidence on that. So let's talk with having our days on market actually get longer. And that doesn't seem right, but it actually is. Now, what's really interesting is that the sale to list percentage is another really interesting number. And let's talk about that as well. So the sale to list percentage is actually very bizarre, but it is about 99%. And that's what it was in 2022. It was right in the same spot of, well, average days on market, the sale to assess was 99.3, sale to list was 99.3. Now, that list price is the last list price before it sells. Or what some agents actually do is once they get an accepted offer, they lower the list price to match the offer because they want this number to look better. So that's why what's happening in Kenosha is not so much that people are getting 99% of their original list price. What they're getting is 99% of the price that they eventually ended up saying yes to. And then their agent lowered the price on the house to that number. So in case they needed a backup offer, because that's the number they were willing to take. So this number can be really, really skewed. So when you see that when you see somebody come into your place and you're talking to a listing agent and they say, yes, my sale to list is like 99%. Well, the whole market's average is 99%. So that's actually not showing their original list price to their. So that's the question you want to ask is, what was your original list price to sale price? What's that number? And so that one kind of wildly varies based on the agent. So don't ask about list to sale price, ask about original list to sale price. That's a much more accurate, that tells you whether the agent actually knows what they're doing and whether they're able to price homes properly so that they sell quickly, which is really what you want, is a quick sale. At least most of the families I talk to, they don't want to be stuck with having to do showings for 2-3 months on end. And the things that drive these up number-wise are usually vacant homes and things of that nature that the seller doesn't care because it's not bothering them to have their house on the market longer. All right, lastly, let us talk about my absolute favorite stat. And I know it's kind of geeky of me, but the absorption rate. Okay, so absorption rate is basically just a fancy way of saying how many months of inventory do we have? Like if we didn't sell another home tomorrow, how long would it take for us to be out of homes to sell? Like, how long can we last without any new listings? And that's kind of like saying, let's look looking at your personal budget and saying, how long can we last if I lost my job tomorrow? Most people understand that it would be really unstable for your family if you lost your job tomorrow and a month from now you couldn't pay any of your bills. But the problem is with absorption rates, it's even more dangerous. Right now, we have less than 1 month's inventory. In 2022, the absorption rate was 0.89 of a month. So that's how that works out. Right now, or at the end of 2023, the average for 2023 was 0.95. That needle hasn't moved nearly enough. And here's where I'm going to show you this. So on this chart right here, okay, it shows you that it really should be at least 3 months of inventory. 3 months of it, like it's kind of like if you lost your job tomorrow and you could survive for 3 months without a paycheck, that's a much healthier place to be. Because a lot of people will at least pick up a second job or a part-time job to try and make ends meet. Within a month or two, you can do that and you don't completely destroy your financial future. Well, that's the same with houses. Because if we have less than 1 month's supply, but we really should have closer to 3 months supply, we have a serious issue. This is kind of like the bankruptcy version of, housing. So this can be very problematic. How do we fix the days on market? Well, it actually comes down to the new listings stat as well, where we only have 73 new listings. When we actually get 150 listings per month as an average, we will be much better on an absorption rate. It will, and again, absorption rate is absolutely critical and key to buyer confidence. If there aren't houses to buy, buyers get discouraged and they walk away from the market and they stay in rental or they stay in a house that doesn't work for them, and it does not create a healthy housing market. We would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell if you got any value from this whatsoever, and we'd be happy to follow up with you. And I look forward to seeing more of you and hopefully giving you even more value as we're going through 2024. So hope to speak to you soon. Bye for now.